shaking. This is the breeze and the fresh air.
Mm-hmm. All right, Reed. Whenever you're ready.
Oh, it's so... Oh my God. It's so bright. Oh, 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 it's always, it's always been this beautiful. Oh my God. Wow. It's unbelievable. I'm shaking right now. Oh my God. It's so beautiful. Oh, wow. Oh, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh. It's such a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Oh, my body is like, my body feels it right now.
That's quite a journey in there, Reed.
Yeah. It was. It is such a blessing. It just... I can't even put words to it right now. All I can do is just laugh and just shake. Oh. All of it is just gorgeous.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
It's... It's like the sheer, just the force of it right now is just overwhelming my body.
It's amazing how just nature can even be overwhelming. Crazy what the world does to our system, or our culture does to our system.
Yeah. Oh my God. Just the simplicity of it. Like, it's just simple. And it's always been right there. It's incredible. I don't have words right now. All I can do is just laugh and just tremble, just shake. It's all right there. It's all right here. All the time. Oh. It's like I've been living on battery my entire life. And that battery has been so empty. And in the darkness, all of a sudden I got unplugged, rewired, and plugged straight into like main line to the power plant. And now I'm like feeling it. And it's so overwhelmingly beautiful. And it's so full, yet so simple. It's so damn simple.
went far. Deep.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I went really deep. But again, just the simplicity of it. There is no breath work. There is no plant medicine. There is no ceremony or ritual that is as profound as just the simplicity of being and just sitting in that space. Out of which all of those peak states arise. They're all there. And with all of the fears and disappointments and the highest of the highs and the highest of the lows of the human experience come out of that space. And in the darkness, you just sit with it. And it becomes a new source for just your very existence. And then here, this. It's like all of that pure simplicity of being is still there. But you see it fractaled into everything. And everything that my eyes are touching right now have that same simplicity of just existing right now. And there's nothing else to do but just laugh and shake and just be in utter awe. Thank you for this space. Thank you.
Thanks for being a part of it. It's really beautiful. Being with you as you just unfurled and touched something so profoundly new.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. This is an experience that I will spend the rest of my life unpacking.
I have some good books for you now, too.
Oh, please.
These people who are masterful at unpacking it. It's just that simplicity. It's even counter to our counterculture.
Mm-hmm.
It's counter to New Age spirituality and most of the spirituality that's out there.
Yeah, and I went in to this experience with so many expectations of like, because I had heard reports of people who had gone on long darkness retreats, and the visions and the past life regressions and astral experiences and all of these like just peak experiences, and I went in with so many expectations. None of it happened. And it was the most beautiful letdown of my entire life. Because you're right, it's not what it's about. It's just, it's hard. Like, all of the worst parts of me came out in there. And I had nothing to do to just sit with them. Nothing to distract myself with. And I just got to watch as a dozen thoughts running through my head every second turned into 6, turned into 3, turned into 1, turned into syllables at a time, and then just turn into silence. And then out of that silence, just a peace unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life came through. Oh my God. It was not an easy journey. But it was unlike anything I could have ever expected. Wow.
What would you say is something that was very, very new that you came to know? That you came to live in?
There's a stillness and a silence that is not empty. When I quiet down and I fill into that space between my thoughts, And I am able to hold the expectations that are not being fulfilled and the fears that are pestering my mind and all of the disappointments I've lived with in my life. And I hold all of those in just this stillness, and it encapsulates them all. There's this space that is rich, and it has a texture. And an aliveness to it that is so full of love and warmth and empathy and compassion and everything I've been seeking in my life through external measures of the world. And in that space, it contains it all, and there's no longer a need for anything else. It's just quiet. And the deeper I could rest into that space, the more warmth I could feel just exuding out of my heart. It's a physical sensation, like just a fountain pouring from my chest when my head ceases to exist and there's no longer any thoughts and there's no longer anything I am running through in my head and hoping for conclusions and hoping for some kind of end result to come, and I let go of all of it. There's just this fountain of warmth that pours from my chest, and it reached a point where there's thoughts can't live in that space. They're mutually exclusive. They're incompatible forces. And just getting to sit with that space and live in that space with nothing else to do and nothing to distract myself from it. It's the main line of the power plant. And everything is fulfilled in that moment. There's no longer anything that needs to be done or any conclusion that needs to be met. It's just enough. Yeah. It really is. And it's always there. Like, it's in everything that I see now. It's just there with nothing to do to get it. It's just there.
What do you think enabled you to touch that? If it wasn't techniques or meditation experience, which it wasn't, what was it that enabled you?
The deepest and most profound surrender I've ever experienced in my life. I went into this experience with yoga and breath work and meditation and all of these techniques that I was going to try and go deep into. And by about day 3, I had run through those. And I'm just sitting there like, now what? And I got really anxious and really irritated and really uncomfortable. And it was that discomfort that was the gateway. It was sitting there just fidgeting with my mala for hours, just needing something to do with my hands and to occupy my mind. And I didn't do anything. It was just letting myself sit with that and not run away from that discomfort, not distract myself from that discomfort. And it took days. But being bored and being uncomfortable for days opens up something that is deeper than any technique, than any gateway experience, because it just forced me to be still. It forced me to get quiet and surrender into the experience and say, you know what? I'm not going anywhere, so hell with it, let's just sit with this. And forcing myself to sit with that discomfort for so long opened up the stillness and opened up a new way of being that just there's nothing else to it. These are all just words. Trying to put a facade onto this experience that makes some kind of rational sense, but it doesn't make any rational sense whatsoever. It was nothing that I haven't experienced a million times throughout my life, of just listening to silence. But somewhere in that silence is a life and is a force that is not empty. It's not. I can only describe it by negation. I can't actually describe it. It's just alive. And the deeper I could sit with my discomfort, the more it opened up.
One of the things that happens when we don't have that technique is it brings us beyond anything we already know. Right? Because we have a technique.
Yeah.
Then there's someone doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what it is that we're doing. But when you just open, the unknown emerges.
There was no one doing anything. And I think that is such a profound point to this experience, is that there wasn't anyone who experienced this. it was just an experience, because as soon as it was Reed Bender having this experience in the dark, I was back in the discomfort, in the fears, in the polarity of either waiting for an exalted like high, or wrestling with some darkness or some fear. It was when there was no one experiencing anything that it was just a feeling pouring from my chest. And it was just there. And there was nothing I had to do to reach it. When I lost it, when I was back in a fear or looking for some kind of experience, when I was looking for something or fighting against something, that's all I was doing, was fighting or looking. But as soon as there was no effort, it was just there. And it became easier to tap into it as the days went on. You know, on day 3, I had a taste, and then I fought it off so hard, and I didn't touch it again that day. And day 4, I was kind of dipping my toes in the water and kind of playing with that experience a little bit. And day 5, it really opened up. And day 6, it was all there was. It's so beautiful. And it's right there. It's like I close my eyes and I'm there, and then I open them, and it's in my face. It's all of the glory of just experiencing nature all over again. It doesn't get old. It doesn't get old. It's always new, and it's always beautiful.
You could be in the darkness and not have the darkness get old. But most certainly life would just never get old.
And it's this weird paradox, because on one hand, I was, sitting there last night and this morning just craving the light and so excited to get back into an actual experience outside of whatever space opens up in there. But at the same time, I was mourning, because I felt like I could be in there for eternity. And I think to a certain extent I am. Like, we are in that for eternity. It's just the extent to which we can see it.
Time just becomes some strange creation of our mind.
Time doesn't exist. And I had an experience of that. I had an experience of sitting in that space and sitting in my heart. And there wasn't anyone that was sitting there. It was just the experience of pure, unadulterated, undistracted being. And I saw my whole life play out in that space. I could go back and I could touch any moment of my life and feel it fully from that space and love it fully in that space and appreciate it for what it was. And having the recognition that linear time as we experience it is just that eternal present unfolding. It's like we get a snapshot, but it's all there all the time. And the only way we can experience it is through the simplicity of being, because it's too much to hold. There's no way to unpack it. I could only go and experience it in snapshots. But it was all there, and it's all here. And there's nothing to do. It's just there.
Kind of from that space as you went back through your life, specifically with your family, but all other relations, what were you able to see?
Nothing but love. I could see the pain, and I could see heartache, and I could see confusion, a lot of confusion. But in that space, it was almost like looking at it from above and holding it in that space and recognizing that all of that confusion and all of that pain and all of that expectation, everything that I hoped for that never happened, and everything that did happen that I didn't expect, everything, I was able to hold it like a mother holding a child, and just, it's like a crying baby, and just hold it and say, it's okay. It's like, in this space, it's okay. And there was, again, nothing to do, nothing to be done about it other than just love it and appreciate it for what it was, and understand that it was and is perfect.
How will this change your relationship with your family?
It doesn't have to. It will unfold, and it will happen, and things will change, and the relationship will be, there is so much love. There is nothing but love. And I think that any change that's going to come from here is not going to be something that I actively do. It's just going to happen. It's just going to unfold from that space. And so I don't... It's like, for so long, I've just been fixated on the pain and on what's wrong. But in there, I began to see, and I began to recognize that there's no such thing. It can't be wrong. it's like we don't measure heat. We don't measure cold. There's no such thing as coldness. It's just a lack of heat. In the same way, there's no such thing as a loveless relationship. It's just love that's yet to be recognized. And so it'll change just of its own accord. It'll just happen. I don't have to do anything.
That's amazing.
It's like you light a candle in a dark room and all of a sudden there's no more darkness. You have a little bit of this kind of love and nothing else matters. Nothing needs to be fixed. It already is.
From your, Christian background, were there times that, like, your relationship with Jesus got reframed in a way that you've never had it, that you've never seen it that way before? Did that play out at all?
No, it definitely did. For the first time since I was a kid, I prayed before every meal. And I was, again, because there's nothing else to do, you feel the time somehow. And it started off, it felt a little bit fake. It felt like I was playing pretend. And I would speak directly to Jesus. And I would just thank him for the food and thank him for this experience. And say, I love you, Jesus. And then, as the days went on, it started to feel more real. And it became something that was less in my head and more in my heart. And I felt Jesus. I felt Christ in that space. It reframed who Jesus is. Not was in his life, but is today. As I said, as I mentioned, the space is alive. Like the space that comes through, it has a texture. It has a richness to it. And I could speak directly with Jesus there in that space. When I was praying before my meals, there wasn't the separation of I'm praying to something separate from myself. I was just speaking it into the quietness. And it was so. And that was it. And again, to the point of the New Age spirituality and looking for these peak experiences, I would have expected to have a vision of Jesus coming into the room and speaking to me, or hear a voice booming down from heaven. None of that happened. It was just the quiet and the stillness. And out of that peace and love, there was just a felt sense of presence. And it was enough. It was all that there was. There was nothing else to look for or to hope for or to expect. I was laughing at myself for expecting anything different.
It's amazing, Reed.
It's all there. And there's nothing I had to do but just see it and not distract myself from it. Because that's what I've done my whole life. That's what we do our entire lives. Is we distract ourselves from the truth because it's uncomfortable and we want something more. I wanted a DMT blowout experience. I wanted to see fractals. And there's a disappointment that comes when it doesn't happen. But then sitting with that disappointment, it takes you deeper. And there's something beneath all of those peak experiences. It's so much richer.
It's the source.
It's something just deeply unknown.
And that's all that remains.
It's all that remains when everything else falls away. When everything falls away. It's the thing that remains. There were times I would be sitting in the bathtub and I would hear my heartbeat. And it would be so quiet. I would be so stripped bare and just sitting with the simplicity of existence. And all that would be filling the space was my heartbeat. And I would feel it and I would hear it in my ears. And it would pulsate through the tub. And I just started to think, what exists behind my heartbeat? If my heartbeat stopped right now, it's the only thing I have a perception of. There's nothing else in this space. There's no thought. There's no expectation. There's no fear. There's no disappointment. There's no sensory perception. All that I can perceive is my heartbeat and what exists beneath it. And that was another gateway. Another of the infinite ways of touching that space. That's it.
There hasn't been many people who have come here who get to touch what you've touched in that way. Like, I'd say there's only been a couple people who have gone beyond themselves. People have profound realizations within them, within their personalities and themselves, but actually going beyond is, and all the two other people who had that experience had no meditation experience.
Of course, that's the way that it is.
It's fascinating. It's really...
It's almost like with religion does it to us, but so does New Age spirituality. We go in with so many expectations, and we have a sense for how we expect it to be. And that it's a Ram Dass quote that I love so much, of it's the golden chain, because it's golden because it takes us so deep into ourselves. Yoga and meditation and breath work and psychedelics, they all take us into ourselves and show us a depth of our own mind that we might have never experienced before. But there's still a chain. It's the golden chain because it takes us so deep, but it can only take us so far. And even those need to go. We need to let go of those too. And once I started to be able to do that, let go of any expectation for this experience, and all of the things I had heard were going to happen and I thought might go on, and those were nothing but hindrance. Those kept me from that space. And it was once I let go of them that I was able to go beyond myself and touch something so profoundly deep.
So totally unknown.
So totally unknown. And I'm coming out of here and I almost feel like I'm deceiving myself, because it was such a mystery. Like there was nothing that came through. There was no vision. There was no real profound realization. It was just a peace. And it was so mysterious. And I could barely just tap the surface of it. But it was so real. And now it's still so real.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's so beautiful. Changes everything.
Like I said, I feel like I've been on battery power my entire life, and I got unplugged, rewired completely, and plugged back in, but to a different source.
It's amazing.
And now I'm sitting here and I'm just feeling it and embodying it, and it's so much. It's so overwhelming. It's such a mystery.